Because I don't
When you
like to
say
lie to
pretty much, does
people.
that mean that you do like hours?
I do like it.
Oh, do you know what you've got? I'm kind of the same as well for doing interviews about the shows, because you've got to like it, otherwise it's absolutely impossible. And I love our show, so it's very easy to talk about. Do you know what I mean? And I
Yeah,
guess for you as well, if you're doing interviews for shows that you don't particularly like, it's very difficult to ask questions about it.
I try to
So I'm
avoid
glad
it
you
when I
like it.
can.
Yeah, you make exceptions like this one.
Yes. I
Yeah.
really was wondering, it seems like you've done some detective-y police work shows in the past. Is that accurate? And did any of
I
that come in
uh,
together on this?
I feel like I haven't done one for a while. I did one like 6 years ago,
Yeah.
and then I feel like, am I lying? I
Well, I
feel
just
like I
meant,
have. I feel like I started off when I was first acting. I had like short hair, so it was like you were going up for coppers and soldiers, and then my hair got a bit longer, and then it was like, oh, period, period hair. You can ride horses and stuff. So then it was like, right, change the hair, and now it's like, yeah, back to the detective stuff, but in a much more interesting way. Like I'd sort of done a procedural cop show before, and I found it difficult by the time we were doing episode 12, because really you're asking questions in an interview, and that's how we get the story of the week across. And Miss Scarlet is totally different, because it's, and when I first started reading it, it doesn't feel like it's about the sort of case of the week. It's about their relationship, and that's really it's kind of about them and about the characters versus what's the case this week, and what is this, the procedural part of it. So it doesn't feel to me like a question answer interviewee, cop
mhm.
show. So that's what I love about it.
I love it too, because you are following one story, but if you pop in, there's still something new for you. Like,
Totally.
and that's kind of really interesting about it is you've kind of got this big arc, which is great, but
Yeah,
then there's always some like new little case, which I love those kinds
exactly.
of shows. Yeah, because you can
Yeah,
always something new. It's
I mean,
fresh.
this exactly. And I think in that, when I first read it, that was what really drew me to it, because procedure cop shows are very loved. And because it's that thing, you can jump in, you don't have to watch every episode, and you can come in and you've got something to instantly catch you. And we all want to be able to work out who's done what and who the killer is, and be our own detective at home. But with Miss Scarlet, Rachel, the creator, is so brilliant that she has this amazing arc with these characters, and that for me is what pulled me in. So yeah, she's great.
It's really interesting. What about being in Victorian London? Like it is very kind of Sherlocky, but different,
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it kind of harkens back to that era. What was it like preparing for that?
I loved it. I mean, like I live in Victorian London. I live in a Victorian house.
Oh, really?
My house I discovered the other day was built in 1887,
Wow.
and everything, all the little tenement houses, and we call them, the sort of terraced houses. They're all from that era, and it was like everything in London we have now was built in that era. It was amazing. Queen Victoria and Albert were doing phenomenal things. All the amazing museums, the sort of getting rid of the slums. There was so many like massive advancements socially, and so it was an amazingly forwarding time. That's the wrong word. Progressive time. But then again, a lot of stuff that should have been progressed faster wasn't, and women's rights, obviously, and as a Queen Victoria, that should have been progressed further in that time, but it wasn't. Um, so yeah, I think I loved going into that world and living in London and being able to sort of look at it differently, and feeling like getting a sense of the show. And then we went and filmed it in Dublin, which actually is kind of more in places. It's been kept more of that Victorian London. You know, we filmed in parts of the Guinness factory, which has been unchanged. These streets between the Guinness factory, because they've got this massive bit of land with all their warehouses on it, and they've got this. It's almost like a backlot of old cobbled streets and you know, amazing terraced streets. So it was ideal, and it just really felt like London for us. And we had amazing costumes by our fantastic costume designer. You know, everything was done on location, so you kind of feel like you're there. You rock up to work, you get dropped off, and you get into your costume, and then you walk into the streets, and you've got horses and carts zooming by, and you know. So yeah, I felt like I was there. It was like no acting was involved, really. It was very lazy of me.
It was immersive. That's all there is.
Exactly.
Immersive
I mean, it's the best
experiences.
kind of. Exactly. You go, oh, I feel it. I don't have to think. Just got to speak. But I mean, it is. It's so much easier. It just. I don't mean easier, but it's.
Yeah.
You then go into I've been very lucky with jobs that we have done a lot of location, mostly location, and then the odd days that you have to go into a studio and do green screen, you're going, oh god, you know, it's a totally different experience. You're in a black box for 14 hours a day, not really getting out, not seeing any light, trying to act, you know, pretend things
Where is
around you.
it?
And I find that really difficult because you're having to push stuff. Whereas with this, we just got to be in the world. So we were very lucky.
And it's very interesting. What I like about this kind of period piece, that it is true that women would hide behind a man's name and kind of use that as a man in power sometimes, who has some agency to move themselves forward in a secret way.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating that the queen was a lady.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like it was all
No.
male dominated. It was a woman in charge.
No, exactly.
And they still had to do
Exactly.
it. But it
I
does kind
know.
of tell a story
And
that's true for women.
oh, completely.
Mhm.
And that, you know, with the suffragette movement and the vote for women, you know, you've got Queen Victoria in there, and that was still having to happen. The fact that that was even an issue and that she hadn't progressed that further. But I think what Rachel does, she does so many things amazingly, and but what she does, and I really loved, was she doesn't. I think there can be a tendency sometimes, especially, you know, with the Me Too movement and with everything where we are right now, that to maybe slightly change and try and modernize the stories. And what Rachel does brilliantly is she doesn't shy away from, you know, Duke says and acts in a not fantastic way. You know, we see him and some of the things he says, we just think, God. But Rachel deals with those situations and she takes them head on, and I think then allows us to kind of watch it as a modern audience and go, we're not shying away from it, you know. Yeah.
And we've come a long way. And even when, you know, even when there's moments like that where your character's kind of, you know, old school, we'll say.
Completely, yeah. Old school, sort of unprogressive, pig-headed, chauvinist. Yeah, completely.
and yet has moments of being a real ally. It's, you know, it shows the complexity of how it really can be. And I appreciated that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Felt
so do
honest.
I, and yeah, I think so. And I, you know, you want them to be disliked. I don't want to sort of, I don't think it's particularly real to have him apologizing before he says something or apologizing
Right.
as he says something. He kind of needs to, we want the audience, I think with all great TV shows, you want the audience to go on a journey with him and hate him some episodes and think he's a pig-headed, I can't say the B word, but yeah, you know,
Yes.
and then we want him to come back, and that's what you want. You want to go on this journey with him and go, do you know what, he is flawed, and he is a progressive man of his time. He's becoming progressive, you know. I
Yes.
think, and he learns that through Eliza throughout season one. So I like that he's not stuck in his ways. He does completely see that she is an incredible private detective, and needs her to be better at his own job. What he can't get past, unfortunately, is the society and how they feel about the relationship, how they feel about her being a private detective in his world, and he can't get past that. And I think that is part of that thing that will always sort of stop them from just being relaxed with each other or being together, or that will always be in the way,
Yeah.
because she will always do it, and he will always find an issue with it because society and the people around him are.
Yeah. It's hard. Societal change. Difficult.
Exactly. I know,
Not
exactly. Yeah,
simple.
it is for Duke. Yeah.
Well, it's hard just anyway. Um, so I have seen up until almost the last episode because it's not out yet. That's
Yeah.
on Sunday.
On
Um,
Sunday.
I'm very much appreciate and yet resent a cliffhanger. So I'm very excited for Sunday. I hope I'm not left too
Good.
hanging.
Good. Yeah, I think stuff is nicely resolved as much as you would want it, and as much as it will ever be resolved.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lovely. We really enjoyed filming the last couple of scenes. They had a really lovely, for us, for our characters, a nice sort of rounding off of season one, and they've definitely sort of made steps towards where you might hope they would go. And it
Yeah.
feels like, oh, peace. I
Yeah.
think you'll like it. Yeah, there's nothing
Good.
worse than like that sort of cliffhanger, and then you've got to wait a year until they film another one. Do you know
It's
what I
the
mean?
worst. Well,
Yeah, that's
the
what's
other
going to happen,
thing,
I'm afraid.
that being said, it also is really nice when you watch a show on PBS that, you know, it's week by week.
Yeah.
So I've kind of enjoyed that, but I know other people want to watch it all at one time. So it
Yeah.
is going to happen here soon. That's cool too. On
I
February
think
21st. Yeah.
it's that thing in it. Like, some shows you can just binge, but some shows make my head hurt if I watch too many of them, because I feel like that actually I did binge Miss Scarlet. I was doing like two at a time when I first got it, and actually I was reading the scripts two at a time as well. I was like, because I really wanted to see that relationship progress, but I do feel like it really suits doing one or two at a time, and then kind of leaving it as well, because you've only got six. We've only got six. It's not a sort of 8 to 10 like I know some American shows are. So if you do that, it's kind of gone in a night.
Wow. 8 to
Um,
10 is very generous. I mean, we have shows that do like 24.
it's 3 years of your life right there. I mean, I've been watching. This is terrible. It's not terrible. It's an amazing show. I've been watching Below Deck,
Oh, yeah.
and during lockdown, because I was in lockdown doing a film in Prague, and we weren't allowed out, and I was there without the family, and I just needed something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
I must have done it. I think I've done all the seasons, maybe like 12 seasons. I've done them all. And they're like, and then I realized they're 20 eps, there's 20 eps there. I'm going, wait a minute, I've done 20 hours of each. Oh God, it's like 300 hours I've watched to that show.
But kind of a
So
gift
yeah,
when you're locked down.
what are you going to do? I've watched everything on Netflix.
Watch
But
TV.
yeah, those, hey,
Watch TV. That's what there
I
is to
know,
do.
exactly. Well, this is why it's such a lovely thing for the show to be on just now, I think. And it was the same in the UK, because people are kind of there to watch it, so it gets to its audience. So that's been really nice.
Yeah. And it's nice to see a problem get solved. It's
Exactly.
kind of like,
Exactly.
in an hour instead of in how many months are we on this? Almost a year. COVID
So
nonsense.
yeah, it's
It's
a
like,
year.
oh, I can sit down and watch this and something's going to be solved, which is nice.
Exactly. I know. And there's a nice release with it.
Yeah.
Sorry, not release. There's a nice
Yeah.
distance with it, because it's a different period. We're not we're not talking about COVID I mean, now when I see people in films and TV, and they're like, I had it with, what did I watch? I can't remember. But they were in a cafe and they were chatting, and I was going, whoa, 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 that what are they doing in a cafe? It felt really weird. Do you know what I mean? Or when you see people hugging, and I'm going, what way? When did they do this? It feels so weird now. Like we've got into that place of social distancing and washing hands and all that, and it's been so long that now when you see it in films and TV, it kind of jars with me a little bit.
Yeah,
It's such an odd time, really.
it is. But thankfully, there's TV
Well, exactly. And movies.
and movies. Well, I don't want to keep you too long, but thank you so much for chatting with
Oh, it was
me.
lovely chatting to
And I
you.
love the
Thank you
show.
so
So
much.